Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown, Dunkirk, and Westfield, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County.
The Chautauqua Center.
Are you looking for affordable medical, dental, or counseling services? The Chautauqua Center is always accepting new patients at their Jamestown and Dunkirk locations. They offer discounted prescriptions and accept all insurances. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Doc Hamels, and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise Special Edition number 300. We got a special guest today that's in the wings waiting to come on the show. I try to pick somebody for my 100 show, my 200 show, my 300 show, very special. And today is a very special day for me today. It's hard to believe that we've done 300 shows, and today is a pre-taped show. In light of our virus situation that's going around, we took certain precautions today to have my guest pre-taped. Other times we're going to do lives or on the phone or whatever, and we're kind of going with the flow here depending on what the government tells us. But as far as Access Chautauqua on channel 1301 on Spectrum, we're going to continue to do as much live program as we can. Also, I want to remind you that we are going to see public service announcements called Chautauqua Strong from the Chautauqua County Health Department, from the Office for the Aging, from the County Executive's Office and so forth throughout the shows and between the shows and so forth. And we might even do some special programming depending on how long this pandemic lasts. We may do some special shows just on that particular item for you all here in Chautauqua County. So what does that mean? That means, number one, don't call in, because if you do, you're just going to get a voice message, okay? Next week, you can call in again. We'll be live and streaming, so forth. But nonetheless, I want to say good morning to everybody that's watching here Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. And also good afternoon to all my listeners on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people in Jamestown on 107.9. As I said, glad you could join us, and I think you're going to enjoy today's show. We have a few things that we want to share with you and some announcements. So first of all, I'm assuming I'm talking into the future that the pandemic virus situation continues. I don't know, every week it seems amazing to me that we have quadrupled or doubled or whatever the situation, the amount of people that have been infected. And I'm hoping that when you see this, that we here in Chautauqua County still have zero amount of people that have contracted the virus. So keeping my fingers crossed. Nonetheless, as you all know, that we are practicing good social distancing. Here, when you're interviewing people, it's kind of tricky. You're trying to keep distance, try to get it so you can talk and have a meaningful conversation. But we are managing. My concierge, Justin Burt, he sprays everything down, cleans things up, and makes everything perfectly clean with disinfectants so that we have a safe work environment here. All right. I want to remind you that if you have an event that you've scheduled and you haven't got it out to the public yet, that you're going to cancel it for some reason, or your club or organization has a change in plans or whatever, give us a call, 716-753-5225, and leave a message. I know we're not here today, but you can leave a message, and next week we'll make that announcement for you. Or if you leave the message and someone grabs it, they can put it on the community bulletin we have a bulletin board that rotates throughout the week, and they can get that on there. I have a few things that I want to tell you about some cancellations here in a minute, but always remember you can, when we're live, you can call in and make announcements live, and we encourage that. Okay, so right now what I want to do is I want to read to you some announcements that I've gotten and some information. And again, I'm assuming all things are pretty much static from the week before, so hopefully these are meaningful to you. All right, there was a big meeting, and the Chautauqua Center, one of my underwriters, was involved with this whole project, this meeting, and out of it came some good advice. So even though this seems contrary to what you might think you should do, please listen. If you're feeling sick, what do? It says, please do not come to your doctor's office if you feel sick. That doesn't seem like that's what you should do, but in this case, do it. If you feel sick, stay home and call your doctor's office to talk about your symptoms. So be ready to tell them, do you have a flu? Do you have a temperature? Take your temperature so you can tell them what your temperature is and so forth if you have a fever. Even if you don't have a fever, check your temperature. They're going to ask you that question. Your provider will assist you to get help that you need, all right? So call them. Do not call 911 because your questions about health should be at and with your doctor. All right, 911 is for emergencies. Don't tie up them because they have enough going on right now. If you do not have a doctor, you can call, for instance, the Chautauqua Center. You can call the Office for the Aging and so forth. They will give you information. The Chautauqua Center, in this particular case, because this was their announcement, they're always accepting new patients and happy to help you. All right. Let's see. What else do I want to tell you? Chautauqua Center does take a variety of health insurances, and if you don't have health insurance, which some people don't, you can give them a call at 363-6050, and they're going to help you out get some insurance through the New York State Health Marketplace. All right, so don't be afraid to get help, and if you don't have insurance, they're going to help you out. All right, moving along. This is a reminder that the McClurg Museum in Westfield is closed until further notice, as well as all the programs that they've scheduled. There was one for this Saturday, and that happens to be today, even though we're taping live. It's March 28th. I gotta remember I'm in the future. It has been canceled. There was a program. Also, there was something scheduled for their annual meeting on April 18th in Westfield. That's been canceled. All right. Everybody wants to be safe and keep everybody healthy, and they're doing their best, even though it's a little bit cumbersome, but we can reschedule, and that's not a problem. If you have any questions about the museum or the Historical Society, give them a call at 326-2977. All right, and let's see. Sure, this is still pertinent. Rolling Hills folks, the Rolling Hills programs, episodes 97 and 98, is normally held at Schaubuck's in Jamestown. For the March 30th show and April 27th show are canceled. Okay? They're doing the right thing because it's a large group that gets together for music. And as I mentioned last week, almost every venue in the area, in the country, is closed right now. Musicians are out of work right now, and the staff and bartenders and so forth, and restaurants. People, let's remember, you can reschedule all these acts and have special gigs, bring back music to our area. This is situation where you have musicians that really depend on gigging throughout the week. And so when this is all over, let's have parties. Let's invite them to block parties or have festivities for your clubs or whatever and get music back in there. And while I'm thinking about it, I have a note. Here in Chautauqua County, northwestern Pennsylvania and so forth, I'll get my paper here. Let's remember that the restaurants have been closed, and but that doesn't mean you can't order out. That means you can give them a call, you can order online, you can get, in many cases, free delivery, you can go and pick the food up yourself or whatever. And another one of my underwriters, Meters Restaurant, does just that. And so I'm going to give them a plug. They're my hometown, and I want you to know that we did this recently. My wife called and put in the order. They were very meticulous about how the order was going, double checked before they put the food in. We went down with our credit cards, got in line real quick, ran their credit card, grabbed the food, and out we went. So these folks depend on our business. Now, here's the thing I want you to remember. Throughout the year, in your club and organization, your Boy Scout troop, whatever it is, where do you always go when you want a gift certificate, when you have a gift basket, you want a pizza, you want subs at a special rate? It's your restaurants. They're the ones that very often are helping us out in the tune of sometimes thousands of dollars throughout a year. Don't forget them. They are still in business, but you just can't eat there. Let's keep these businesses going. I know the Parkview's delivering. I've heard even your big box brand name stores all over the place, they're delivering. So if you are accustomed to eating out, get the food and eat in. Okay. Rotary Club of Westfield, Navel, Pancake Breakfast has been canceled. Okay, and that was to be held on April 4th. It's canceled, it's not postponed, it's canceled in the sense that it's something they do at a certain time of year, and they just don't think that it'll be just as effective doing it later on in the season, so they're going to come up with some other projects. But anyways, that was going to be held at the Brockton Central School. That's closed. And just as a side note, I'm the president of the club, and we've taken this very serious, as well as other organizations and clubs, and we are not holding any meetings until May at this point. And if this thing keeps raging on, we may end up closing May down. So just keep posting with us and keeping watching us, and we're going to give you all those updates. All right. There was a Grapes and Hops Festival that was scheduled for last week, March 21, and that's been rescheduled for April 25th. Now, they're hopeful. April 25th seems reasonable, but in the event that that's canceled, they're going to reschedule, of course, and let you know what's going on. So if you have any questions about that, give me a call at 484-2624. Okay, and I have a note here. Oh, where'd this come from? All right, yesterday was one of our crew's birthdays. How old is he? 29. He's 29. On March 27th, our director of the show here, Chris Burt, turned 29 on March 27th. So Chris, in the future here, I hope you had a great birthday, and thanks for all the good work you do behind the scenes to make Chautauqua Sunrise so successful here in Chautauqua County. All right, there was another program that was scheduled, the Shamrock and Roll, that was going to be held at Bellini's, and that was going to support the Chautauqua Children's Safety Village. That was going to be held last week on the 21st. It's been rescheduled for Saturday, June 6th. So as you can see, everybody is thinking ahead. And that's going to be held from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Chautauqua Suites in Mayville. Tickets are still $40, and if you already bought tickets, hang on to them. They'll be honored. They're going to be giving away cash prizes of $500, $250, and $125 payouts, a whole bunch of different ones. And they got all kinds of great food. We'll talk about this more when we get closer in June, but it's going to include a salad bar, a taco bar, a potato bar, a burger bar. Burger bar? I've never heard that before. Pasta bar, lots of places where you can kind of go and fill up your dish and so forth. Sounds like a lot of fun. There's going to be a photo booth and dancing and so forth. So keep that in mind. June 6th, that's a reschedule. And I think we have a poster on this one, Jeff, if you want to pop that up. Chevette's Chicken Barbecue for Prevention Works has been rescheduled, and that was originally for March 23rd, and that was the one that was going to be in the North County. That was going to be held at the Masonic Lodge in Fredonia. That's been rescheduled for June 2nd, 2020. And as we get closer, I'm sure we're going to announce that again. And the barbecue that was originally scheduled for April 28th, that was going to be at St. James Church, is now rescheduled for June 23rd. And if you have any questions, give them a call at 664-3608. And as always, they want you to remember to stay healthy, and they thank you for your understanding, as do all the folks that we've had to make cancellations. All right, and again, remember, if you have cancellations and you feel that it needs to be shared publicly, give us a call and we'll get it on. All right, we're going to take a breather. We're going to be right back with my special 300th guest. Stay tuned. This is for you.
Why is ambition respected in men and criticized in women? Well, when asked to draw a leader, the vast majority of people, both men and women, draw a man. When we imagine positions of power, we erase women from the picture. It's time to challenge cultural stereotypes and outmoded mindsets. The world is a better place when we support one another's ambitions, whatever they may be. Our ambition is to challenge double standards to help achieve women's equality. What's yours? Embrace ambition.
You're watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels. And I mentioned this is our 300th show. And before we get to my 300th guest, I got a late-breaking announcement that came in for a cancellation for those that are involved with the Sherman Lodge, Free and Accepted Maces in Sherman, New York, Olive Lodge. They have canceled all meetings until the second meeting in April. And if anything changes on that, we'll give you an update. So the Masons are doing the same thing as everybody else. Be sensible and stay safe. Social distancing. Okay, so I want to now introduce to you a very special person that I've known for many, many years, an important person in my life, my father-in-law, William E. Mulson. Welcome to the show.
Yep.
So I talked you into being here, and we've done 300 shows up till today. And so you're my special guest, and I asked you to talk about some things that we'll get to here in a minute. But you have a little connection with the studio here because you were good friends with somebody that used to have this time slot, Reed Powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mort Flexer. So what's your memory of Reed?
Well, he liked to talk.
Yes, he did.
And I used to play bridge with him, him and his wife, and me and my wife, and we got together quite often to play bridge.
Right.
And he done a lot for different organizations and stuff around Westfield. And as I understand it, his father, I believe, was, some of his relation was a doctor at one time.
Right. So that he had long roots in the community, didn't he?
Right.
Well, Reed is well remembered here. We still have his ties somewhere here.
And as I remember you reading all the
announcements.
Announcements
Yep.
and things, time really flies by fast. Believe me.
Well, it's hard to believe.
And I just can't believe I'll be 94 here in about 3-4 months.
You're gonna be 94.
Yep.
You don't look 94. Does he look 94 to you? Does that seem possible?
I'd say 60s.
Wait a minute, I'm in my 60s. Well, all right, that's a compliment to you, Dad.
Yeah. But like I say, I've seen quite a lot over the years. I can remember my folks talking about the last flu epidemic that they had in the 1900s.
1918, I think it was the
Yep.
Spanish flu. What happened then?
Well, I can remember them talking about it, about people getting sick, and then of course the nurses and that had to work regardless.
Yeah.
And it all turned out in the long run. I mean, they lost a lot of people back then, but this goes along with life as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
And I can remember in the 30s, real good. In fact, on March 27th in 1936, we had 3 feet of snow in Ripley, believe it or not. All you could see of my dad's vehicle was the antenna.
Oh my gosh, we don't get storms like that anymore, do we?
No, we don't.
And I'm okay with that.
But he had quite a time. We had the snow here, and we came up in this thick of the woods from a little town named Frenchville, about 20 miles out of Clearfield, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And we came to Ripley in 1929. And I've been here in Ripley ever since.
Tell me about your family. Where did they come from originally?
My dad, my great-grandfather came over here from Marne, France
Okay.
in 1850, I think it was.
That sounds about right. So, and he settled in Frenchville?
And he settled there in Frenchville. In fact, today there is one of the streets down there that's named after the Mulson. It says Mulsonburg on it.
You know, I remember we talked about that. So you have your own street.
Yeah.
Do you have any relatives that still live there?
Yes, not too many down there anymore. I got a couple cousins, but I just don't quite remember. But I was born in what they used to call a section house on the railroad.
A section house.
Right.
What is
It's
that?
where the families lived that worked on the railroad. They was owned by the railroad, these houses.
The company house, huh?
Right. And I was born in one there by the railroad, what they called Rolling Stone. It was on the Susquehanna River.
Wow.
In fact, when this storm hit here, my grandfather had passed away down there on March 17th, and my dad couldn't get down there. He tried every way. They held him over, his father, because they had the floods down there.
Oh my gosh.
And he finally got down there with a car. I can remember my dad having a Model T. And it's amazing. I remember, well, like I say, some of the cars and that my dad had. He always had one, and we always had a phone because he worked for the railroad and he was on call all the time.
Oh, you had a phone back
And
then?
in fact, when things got so tough there in the Depression, he only worked 3 days a week, but at least he was working.
Yeah, kept him going. So you were born in the section house along the Susquehanna River. And what did your grandfather do for a living that came from Marne? What did he do?
He had a farm there, but he also worked for the railroad. But they laid him off just before he was old enough to draw a pension.
Of course.
So they didn't have to pay him his pension.
Of course. So you got railroad rails in your blood. I mean,
Right, I spent 43 years with the railroad. That's counting my military service.
All right, and which railroad was that?
Well, when I went to work there, I lied my age. I was only 15 years old.
Imagine that.
And it was called a nickel plate.
Okay. There's a nickel plate restaurant up in Brockton. Isn't that the nickel plate?
Yep.
Okay.
It used to be.
Okay.
And I worked for anywhere from Fort Wayne, Indiana to Buffalo.
Holy mackerel, that's quite a big area.
I took my pension from the railroad in 80s, and like I say, my military service, I joined the Navy then. There was 4 of us from Ripley that went in together. And then some of the Ripley boys, all of us met together and went out for dinner in Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh, wow.
It was 7 of us, all from Ripley.
The little tiny town of Ripley. So,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, so you've seen a lot over the 93 years so far, almost 94.
That's right. In fact, I helped build a monument that's in Ripley,
Which one is that now?
the Veterans Monument.
Okay, we've talked about that here in our show.
Right.
Bob McIntosh has been here. That's right there by the school.
Yep, I helped build that,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, I can remember the schoolhouse now, where most of it is all over on Ross Street. When I went to school in the old schoolhouse, that was the playgrounds,
Okay.
and we used to play softball out there. In fact, I graduated out of the old building from the 8th grade and went over to the high school.
Okay.
And then, of course, I didn't finish. I had the first 2 years, and then I enlisted in the Navy.
That was pretty common, wasn't it?
It was, and like I say, there was several of us that worked there, kids from high school that worked on the railroad. We all quit and went to into the Navy.
Right. So back then, a high school diploma was okay. It was good, but you didn't have to have it to get work, right?
No, that's right. In fact, I have always said I had what you might call on-the-job training. I only had 3 weeks of boot camp when we joined the Navy.
That was it?
3 weeks,
Oh my gosh.
and they put us on we went to Boston and put the ship in commission.
Mm-hmm.
It was a brand new ship, destroyer, and right out to, we went to Bermuda first on a shakedown, and then we went down and through the canal and out into the Pacific.
So you were, 17 at that point?
17 years
And
old.
your mom had a sign for you or your dad, right?
Yep.
Oy, oy, oy.
And I was in all the battles out there from the liberation of the Philippines till the war was over, with the exceptions of Iwo Jima.
Wow.
And I wasn't in that battle. I was in a floating dry dock getting repaired from a suicide plane,
Right.
kamikazes. And they, in fact, I've got a book at home that I bought at one of our reunions. And the lady, Leafy, it was the name of the ship, and they took 22 suicide planes and still stayed afloat.
Wow.
And
Build in America. They
and
build with quality.
the skipper of that ship came to one of our ship reunions,
Uh-huh.
and he wrote a book. And I bought one of his books for $10, and he signed it.
Very nice.
He was a captain whenever he was aboard the ship, and he wound up as a rear admiral.
Wow. Okay, so let's go back a little bit if we could. I think people would be kind of interested to know what things were like in Ripley, Westfield, Northeast when you were a little kid. So you said you went to school. Now, what happened to that building?
They tore that down. I can't remember just exactly what year it was, but they tore that down. Well, then the state of New York come out with the veterans that didn't have their
Diploma?
diploma in that they would give us our diplomas. And so I got my diploma with
My daughter.
your daughter and my granddaughter, and
That was in 2001.
2001.
So you finally graduated from high school. So what are you going to do with your diploma? Get a job?
Yeah, but I keep busy, and I can remember when there used to be 2 clothing stores in Ripley,
Uh-huh.
plus a dress store,
And a dress store.
right? And gas stations, there was 3 or 4 of them.
In Ripley? 3
Yeah.
or 4 gas stations?
Yep. And then the grocery stores, I don't know how many of them. We had a meat market.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 or 3, of course, we had a big fire went through there in,
65,
I forget what year that was.
I think it was. New Year's Eve, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, it was on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I read it off of a fellow by the name of Darwin Christie.
Mm-hmm.
And that fire, I've got pictures of it. In fact, there's a picture in this book here of it. And there was a building down in back of his place that I built a boat.
And it floated.
Yes, I used that for fishing. I was always liked fishing, and the same way with hunting. I can remember during the Depression when we lived on the wild game of all kinds.
Yeah?
In order to have any meat to eat.
Did your mother fix it for you?
She would fix it. In fact, my dad would go down into Pennsylvania with his dad, and they would kill a deer and bring it home.
All right.
My mother would cold pack it.
What does that mean?
Well, she packed it in quart jars in cold and then put them on the stove and boiled them.
Okay.
And we had meat then for the rest of the winter.
Oh, so like canning them?
Yeah, like
Okay.
canning them.
Okay. So besides deer, what else did you eat back then?
Well, I've eaten just about all the game,
Well,
wild
give me
game
a
that
couple. I want to watch people's faces here.
I've eaten rabbit. I
Rabbit's
used to
good. I
like the rabbit hunt.
Rabbit's good.
And I coon hunted. I used to buy all my own school clothes, and I hunted and trapped for coon, mink, and all that.
You don't eat them though.
No,
Okay.
woodchucks. I've eaten woodchuck.
What's that
That's
taste
real
like?
good meat.
It is. Is it dark?
No, not really.
Okay.
And
Turkey?
turkey. I've eaten a wild turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, I've eaten most all
Bear?
of it. The only one I'd ever liked and didn't eat any more of it was coon.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a dog won't eat coon, even if it's cooked.
But you can skin them and sell the pelts.
But
and so
they
on.
sell the hides off of them.
Okay. So you really had to get by in those days. Now you once told me a story about if you didn't have a lot of refrigeration because you just had what, an ice box. Where did you put the hams and things like that? You used to tell me about this.
My grandpa, my dad even always had raised a pig or something after we got our own place after he bought a house.
That's up on Shaver Street?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, he bought two different houses
Okay,
on
go
Shaver
ahead.
Street over the years. But we, I can't remember for sure what we did back.
Remember where'd you put your ham?
When we go down and visit my grandfather, I can remember him. They used to thrash, and they put their oats in that in bins, and
Okay.
when they thrashed, it was, and my grandfather would keep the hams in the oats,
You put a
And-
ham shank,
the whole ham,
whole ham,
off of a pig,
put it right in the oats?
and he put this stuff on it and cured it like they do ham.
Okay.
And then he stuck it in the oat bed so it would stay moist.
So then
And-
what if you want a ham sandwich? Just go out and,
You go out and cut a chunk off of that and bring it in the house and eat. In fact, they used to bury all the fruit and stuff in caves.
yeah?
And they would also dig a hole or a pile of dirt up in the middle of the ground, and they would go out there and dig a little hole in that, in the side of it, reach in and get out what they wanted in the wintertime. But that's how they kept their apples and
Well, why not? The ground is like 50 some degrees all year round.
right.
Natural refrigeration.
And they would cover that with straw and then dirt back over the top so it didn't blow away and everything. That's where they kept it. And my dad, there was always a lot of snakes down around there. And my mother, when she had stuff that she didn't want my dad to have right then, she would put it in the cave. They had a cave,
Uh-huh.
and there was a spring in there, water. Anyway, she'd put like butter or whatever it might be. And my dad wouldn't go in there after because he was always afraid of the snakes, the rattlesnakes.
I would never have thought that. Justin, you need to get some snakes at your house and keep your brother away from the food.
I don't like snakes.
Okay, so then I remember you told me a story. And these are funny stories. I think these are great stories of Ripley when you were a kid. Didn't your father have pigs one time and you gave him something? What happened? Tell that story. That's a great story.
Well, like I said, my dad had raised pigs, and we had a cow and a horse. Well, one year, in fact, he had planted some grapes out back, tore the old orchard out and put in the grapes. And he was going to make a barrel of wine. So, yeah, I guess you put them in there and grind it up or something anyway in this barrel. And when he went to press them and press the juice out, he took the pumice and fed it to the pig. Well, the pigs got drunk on that. And they would sit right back on their hind quarters and just squeal.
More, please, more, please. I try to imagine that. That's too funny. So, growing up as a kid, what you didn't have TV, you didn't have all the gizmos now. What did you do?
They had mostly every town had a baseball team.
Okay.
For in the summertime, and they would go around different towns and play ball.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I can remember when Erie had a semi-pro team and played football.
Wow.
And one of the fellows from Ripley
Mm-hmm.
was on the team. And I used to go with him. He'd get the tickets, and I would go there for nothing because I could get in with him.
Mm-hmm.
But we used to watch that all the time. And we played cards a lot.
What kind of cards did you play?
Well,
You mentioned bridge, but I don't think you were playing bridge when you were a kid.
no, we used to have a game what they called flinch.
Flinch.
And in fact, I wouldn't. It's been so long ago that I doubt if I could play it anymore. But and 500. In fact, the girls a lot of the time. Well, this right up today, they still get together once a week or.
Mm-hmm.
And well, maybe once a month, I'm not sure, but and play cards.
Cards is a great time to get together, isn't it?
Right. In fact, I can remember when we first got our first radio, and I can also remember my dad would go to work or get on the short wave
Mm-hmm.
on the railroad and listen. He used to like to listen to the boxing.
Okay.
Joe Louis and
Yeah,
them
yeah,
boxing.
So you listened to that when you were a kid?
I had to because he.
You didn't have too much choices.
But I remember our first radio. I also remember our first TV.
Mm.
In fact, the radio, I can remember my mother and, well, all of us used to stay up on Saturday night to listen to the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh my gosh, way back then. I didn't even know how old I was. So,
And like I say, you made your own
play games.
games and whatever.
So, you and I like to play cards quite often, and Friday night was always card night. But you and I have played, euchre, and we've played cribbage, and, a lot of people don't even do that anymore. And I've been teaching my kids. My kids all know how to play those games, and it wouldn't be unusual for on a day we were on a trip or something, and somebody pulls out a deck of cards and we're playing rummy or whatever. It's good.
I
good
used
thing
to
do.
play cribbage a lot aboard ship.
Mm-hmm.
We had an ensign from New York City, and his dad had quite a bit of money, as I understood. But anyway, he'd tell me, he'd say, "Come on, Mulson, let's play a game of cribbage." Well, I'd beat him. "Damn you, Mulson, I'm playing no more with you." And it wouldn't be an hour till he'd be back.
You'd be back.
And want to play another game.
Did you play for money?
No, we just played to pass time.
No, you can tell me. It's all right. Did you play for money? No.
not cribbage.
Oh, what did you?
We played poker aboard ship there for a while, and then the skipper come out with a referendum or whatever you want to call it. Anybody he caught playing gambling was going to get captain's mask, going on report.
Ooh.
So that wound up that we didn't play poker anymore aboard ship.
But you enjoy poker, don't you?
Yeah.
I played poker against you.
In fact, past masters in the Masons, we used to get together and play poker. We have a meeting maybe once or twice a year.
You mentioned Masons. So how long have you been involved with Masons?
It'll be 60 years this year.
60. So you were 34 when you signed up.
Yep.
Wow.
And
And that was in Westfield, right, at Summit Lodge?
yeah, I joined in 1960.
Okay. And in this book that you are mentioning, it mentions that you were a past master? What is it? What's
I've
a
been
past master? What
I've
is
been
that?
a past master twice.
What is past master?
Well, he's in charge of the meeting for a year.
Sort of like the president of the club, kind of.
Yeah,
thing?
and you got different officers in that. It's quite an organization. In fact, it's the oldest fraternity in the world, I guess.
Okay.
It's traced clear back into the 1300s.
Now, I was thinking about what were the streets like when you were a kid in Ripley? You mentioned to me the other day.
That was another thing,
It
yeah.
was all different than it is today.
I don't know how we did it, but I know if it was now, I would sure get after my kids. But we used to, Ripley was a brick road all the way from Route 20 to Side Hill Road on 76.
Okay, all the way up through.
All the way up through. And we used to take our sleds, and all the cars back in them days had bumpers on them and stuff. And we would
Ladies
take
and gentlemen, these are true tales from Bill Mulson when he was a child in Ripley, New York.
We
Don't
would-
try this at home.
we would take and grab a hold of the bumpers on the cars. They would go to come out to go turn up over the hill. And when we get up to the top of the hill, we'd let loose. And then we'd turn around, we'd slide on our sleds back into town, which was about a mile down.
Oh, you had the sled with you on the back of the bumper. Oh, sort of like a cable car.
Right.
I never tried that. When I was growing up, we would hook on the back of cars. It was called pogying in Buffalo.
Another thing we did, take our bicycle in the summertime, and the guy that had the car, if you knew him, he'd roll down his window. You'd hang on to the car on your bicycle and go up the road.
You'd hang on to the car with your bike?
Yep.
Jeff, Randy, are you listening? We'll have to do that at the Ride for Roswell. You get tired, hook onto a car. That's got to be pretty dangerous.
But like I say, my mother and them, they used to get on me. They'd hear about us sliding with our sleds and stuff, or hanging onto a car.
So, tell me about your family. It was your mom and dad and you, and who else?
I had 3 brothers and 3 sisters,
Uh-huh.
and they're all gone now. I'm the last one.
Well, you are pretty old.
But like I say, like in the military, I had an uncle that was in World War I,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in World War II. And of course, I got a grandson, your son,
Yep.
that
He's right.
is Special Forces
And
now, that is retired.
Art was in Vietnam, my
And,
brother-in-law.
yeah,
Yep.
right. And so there was quite a bit of the military in my family.
Right. So what were the streets in Ripley? You talked about the brick road going up, but let's talk about Route 20 going across. What was that all about? Now, I'm assuming this is Westfield, Northeast, and so forth. So the roads were similar?
Right.
Okay, what was in there at that time? Was
I
it-
can remember them telling, now I didn't see this or anything, but I don't know what it was, but up where the arch is on the other side of the State Line Bridge, when they built the railroad in there and put that arch in, it was way back before they had trucks and stuff to load it. They loaded wagons with a team of horses on them, and they had like a dump trailer. And they would go over there and get a trailer load of dirt and take it up and dump it in there. That's how they made that arch and filled it for the railroad to go through.
Okay.
And then also they had at one time what they called the trolley cars. They run from Buffalo to Erie.
Now, how many cars would be together on a trolley? Just one, or
One single car.
one single car?
In fact, it used to be on northeast corner of
Shortman?
Shortman Road.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a round stone building that they built. And that was the little a room like where you could get in out of the weather till the trolley came.
Now, is that
And there's one of the, when they here just not too long ago, I think it's when they put the sewer in, they moved that building off of that corner and put it over on the southwest corner.
that has stone on it? Little stones? in
Right,
it?
stone on
It was like
it.
a little cave or something.
Right.
That's from the time of that
From the trolley. In fact, the trolley went through, I don't know, like Ripley here, and I can't tell you for sure when that was, but that was back before we retired and that. But they went through and they redone the roads, Route 20, and they dug down in there and they took all those ties out and then filled it back in and paved it. But you take northeast right now, for instance, and you go west through town, and it's like a washboard. And that's what that is them ties is rotted underneath.
Oh my gosh.
And like I say, they rot under there, and then it would get like a washboard.
All
going
right, so
through.
the trolley was like on a train track? With,
Yeah, it
with
was
ties
on-
like they have today?
Yep.
But was it a smaller gauge or was
So, yeah, and that went right through the middle of town.
okay. But it stopped at Shortman Road.
Yeah, and if you're familiar with where the store there, Walmart is, in Harbor Creek,
Yeah.
just west of that, where it goes down the little gully there, like
Yeah.
there's this creek that goes through underneath. That used to be the old car barns for the trolley.
Really? So
In fact, I fished 20 mile there from one end to the other, and down, I'd say maybe a half a mile off of Route 5, the Lake Road. That's where the old trolley crossed the Gulf. And the last I knew, there was still some of the metal frame from that bridge where they went across.
wow. So this trolley went from Erie, you said?
Erie, Buffalo to Erie.
So and there was different stops along the way, and they would charge you
Right.
just like they do tickets. So where did you buy the ticket on the trolley? Do you know, or?
I don't remember that, just how that was.
But you said you never rode the trolley, but you saw the trolley going.
Yeah,
through.
I saw it go through, yeah. In fact, they tore that out of there. I think it was, well, I believe it was, they quit running that trolley in 35, I think, or 36.
So you were still a pretty
Oh,
young guy.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so Ripley trolleys going through. Was it dirt road around it, or was it paved, or?
Well, they it was a dirt road around it a lot of places, but then again, when where it went right through the town, middle of the town, and that way, it was paved, you know.
Okay.
But some of it was out in the dirt outside of town. And
Sure,
that.
your secondary roads. So in Ripley, Westfield, and so forth, you had your churches, you had butcher shops, you had the schools, and so forth. Did you guys do things with kids from Westfield or from Northeast, or sports or anything like that?
Oh yeah, they played. As I recall afterwards, when we was in school, then they played sports. In fact, Putner all of them did, but. I know there's a lot of, I forget what they called it, the parents of all the kids that played sports.
Oh, like a support group. Yeah,
We had
yeah.
a sport group, yeah. And we
Sports
used,
boosters. That's the name.
right.
I had to think about that too.
I never could remember names that good.
Well, you have a little time in there.
But faces, I usually remember a face of that, but like I say, to put a name on them, a lot of times I can't do it. Maybe I'll think of it while I'm sleeping at night
Yeah,
or
you can
something.
wake up in the middle. There's that name. So, when you were growing up as a teenager, I know that you said you enlisted when you were 17, but were there dances and things like that?
Oh yeah, my wife and I, even after we was married, you didn't have anything to do, so you on the weekends and that they would hold square dances, and all around the country and that. I went to a lot of different places that had square dances back then, and we used to love to dance.
Mm-hmm.
But
So where were the dances in Ripley?
well, we had dances up over the Oddfellows Hall
That would be right there on Main Street.
on Main Street, and then a lot of people had them in barns, the houses. Where Newberry lives, farm there on the east end of town.
Mm-hmm.
That house there, we had square dances in that house. I remember going there, and that was during the war.
So I'm not playing around now. Was it live music, or did you record players, or what did you?
Live music a lot.
Live music.
In fact, used to be a place in Westfield, Wilson's they called it. Every Saturday night they held square dances there, and people that came there with a band was out of Ohio. They called them the Georgia Ramblers.
Oh, wow.
And they played there in Westfield for, I don't know how long it was that we used to have dances there.
So there you are, let's say 15, 16 years old, and you're going to go to the square dance. So did you have to wear like good clothes, or could you show up in jeans, or how'd that go?
Well, we you usually sports clothes or whatever. Didn't wear suits or anything, but you'd wear your sports or
Something good, halfway decent,
Right.
casual. What about the girls? They wear the big hoop?
No.
No? Just
no, just
none of that stuff.
just their regular clothes and that, and had quite a time back then. You made, like I say, you made a lot of that your own doings in order to find something to do to occupy your mind.
So when you were younger, everybody, you said you trapped and so forth. Did you ever work on the farms or anything like that?
Oh yes, I hoed corn all day by hand with a hand hoe
You hoed
for
corn.
5 cents an hour.
Child labor.
In fact, when I joined the Navy in 1944, on the railroad was paying 38.5 cents an hour. And the union got us a raise and a back pay. And when I got my back pay, I was in the Navy then, and I signed that check and gave it to my sister who was going to college to help her pay for her college degree.
What a brother. What a brother.
And like I say, I can remember lots of hard things that you had to do, you know.
Yeah. So I'm imagining a house with 7 kids in it, and of course the youngest was born later on. But so let's go 6 kids. And what kinds of things would your mother cook? Was there any special things that you remember? They say, "Wow, I wish I could do that now."
Yeah, she used to bake bread all the time.
It's fresh bread.
And in fact, my dad, even right up until he passed away there in '66, he wouldn't eat bought bread. He didn't like it. And my mother made bread then. In fact, my wife, Wilma, got where she made homemade bread every once in a while.
Now, were there special desserts or anything like that your mom would make, or things that kind of stick out in your memory?
No, well, we made our own ice cream, and well, like I say, most vegetables that they wouldn't spoil. She would can them. In fact, we used to go along the railroad and pick wild strawberries, but you can't do that anymore because of the spray dope and stuff that they put on them.
I know. Isn't that a shame?
And you just, but dewberries was another thing you could pick along
Those
the
are the big
railroad.
black ones? Oh, they're delicious.
And like I say, she would even make jelly out of them. And
So you really lived off the land. So as far as you said you hoed corn, did you work the grapes at all, ever?
yeah, they used to have this was before the war, what they called hoopies they made. They took automobiles and they take the hand shifter, it wasn't automatic or anything. They would take those transmissions out and they hook 2 of them together some way or another. But anyway, they wound up what they called hoopies. And my mother and dad they had one-horse cultivators. My mother would take one row down one row of like tomatoes, and then my dad would take the other row, and I was driving the hoopie. I'd drive the hoopie for them to cultivate and stuff with. And I can remember going to West Virginia in the early 40s down to my uncle's, and my dad got sick, and I drove home with no license or anything.
How old were you?
I drove home.
How old were you?
Of course, I don't remember now anymore, but 13 or 14. Of course, I knew how to drive because
You had your hoopie.
yeah.
Was that one of those crank starts with a flywheel? Woo!
No, a lot of them had their
Oh, electric start?
yeah.
Oh, wow. That's pretty advanced. So if there was anything from when you were a young kid that you could wish that you could still have, what would it be? Do you have anything that you'd like to do or have?
Well, ever since I was old enough, I've carried a gun and went hunting.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've at home, I bought my first non-resident license for hunting deer in Pennsylvania in 1942. And I've got all of them hunting licenses that I've bought over the years in New York and
You
Pennsylvania.
have quite a collection then, huh?
And there's quite a few of them, all of them in a drawer there at home.
Wow.
And another thing I'd like to do, I went every year, was maybe at least once, sometimes twice. Used to go to Canada fishing.
Oh, yeah?
I love to fish. And I'd go up there. In fact, the doctor at one time had me on a diet, and I never ate any red meat for 2 years. I lived on fowl and fish
White meats.
and white meat.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I had my surgery and that, I had heart surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Why I went back to eating meat again.
Still
then because-
ticking. So over the years, you got married and you had some kids. How many kids do you have?
2 girls and 2 boys.
All right. And one of them's in the studio here. She brought you here. And-
Yeah, and Bonnie Lynn, she was the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, her husband has been in VA in Erie for
Do a shout out to Artie.
better than 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
Then my wife Barb.
he was in Vietnam over there,
Right.
and the war got that orange, Agent Orange, or whatever the heck they call it.
Right. And then you have 2 sons.
Yeah, and 2 sons and a daughter.
Okay, here's a tough question, and we're running out of time. How many grandchildren do you have? Quick. How many great grandchildren do you have? Quick. You have to. I have to do the same thing now, isn't it?
I'd have to stop and count them.
Well, we're just about out of time, Dad. So, if there was one memory that sticks out of your childhood, what would it be? Do you have one that jumps out at you?
Oh, not really.
Mm-hmm. It was a good time to live, though, wasn't it? It was-
Yeah.
And
In fact, like I say, I remember back when cars. In fact, my first automobile was a '39 Packard,
good memory of that.
and before I got rid of that vehicle, I had a K5 International truck universal joints in it. I had a Buick straight 8 cylinder motor in it.
Mm-hmm.
And back then they had what they called an exchange book. And a guy from Ripley, Tom Brett, he was a good mechanic, and he had one of those books. And I used to go to him,
All right.
and he would tell me what to get, like Chevrolet Spider gears in the rear end.
Okay, so he took care of you, and guess what? We're out of time. We can't finish the story. Folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. My very special guest on my 300th edition of the show has been Willie Mulson, retired railroad man, and my father-in-law. So thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed his stories. And if you see him out on the street, wish him almost happy birthday. He's going to be 94 soon. I'm Doc Hamels. We're going to do this all again next week, provided the government lets us stay open. Be safe. keep your distance, wash your hands, and we'll see you all real soon. Take care. Bye. So there you go. We're done.
Yep.